He got new lawyers, and he said, look, you're not living up to your part of the bargain. I'm withdrawing my guilty plea. I was pressured into this in the first place, and he's had very aggressive lawyering. Sidney Powell has been leading his defense, saying that the government, in essence, tricked him into making these statements. The Attorney General, William Barr, then appointed the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Missouri to review the case. And as a result of that review, documents have been bit by bit turned over to the defense, which they say bolster their case. Now, back to your question. It is true that just lying to the feds in and of itself is not a crime. It has to be, and this is a word in the statute, it has to be material. You can't just lie about something that is unimportant. To be a crime, it has to be material. And what the government is basically saying here is they had Michael Flynn under their microscope when the whole investigation of Russian meddling started for what many considered to be good and sufficient reasons. He had been to Russia. He had been paid to speak at an event. He had been seen dining with Vladimir Putin. So it was only natural to wonder whether he was somehow involved. We now know from court documents that have been unsealed that before the FBI interviewed him about Flynn's conversations with the Russian ambassador during the transition, that the FBI had basically said, OK, we've looked at him for all those things that we talked about earlier, and we've determined that this investigation should be closed. Period. Then comes the question about whether he was being dishonest to people in the White House about his conversations with Kislyak, the Russian ambassador. That's when they were interviewed. And so what the Justice Department says here is that interview, those misstatements were material to exactly nothing, that the FBI wasn't investigating him for anything at the time. So his misstatements, if they were a lie, don't count. That's the basis of what they're arguing here today. Now, by the way, you and Katie were saying, well, what the heck? He's already pleaded guilty. It is true that the government can withdraw a prosecution even after someone has pleaded guilty. It's happened before. So that's what the government is doing here. And in this long filing, this 20-page filing to the judge, they basically say, look, Judge, your role is very limited here. You know, you don't have much discretion to say no to this. But the judge, let's be clear, does have the final say. The government is seeking to drop the charges. The charges would be dropped if they are by the judge.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.